if you want to know you're an employee who's deep in it and coming out is difficult, you're constantly chasing things. And when I say chasing things, it's not strategic. Like, you're constantly competing with people within your environment. At your workplace, you're competing with people without clear direction. You don't even know why you're competing with them. You're constantly trying to sabotage other people without knowing even why you're doing that. You have a scarcity mindset. You think like when someone is making it, they're now taking something away from you. So if you're constantly chasing in the workplace, you're constantly trying to see, there's a promotion, you want it. You've not even invested in getting the skills that are required for that promotion, but then you're just chasing it. If you're constantly trying to chase, you're constantly trying to loop in your colleagues into toxic gossip instead of using that time to invest in things that actually add you value. When you have value, you attract opportunities. But then if you're constantly trying to chase, trying to prove to everyone why you deserve the promotion and so was given, so didn't sleep their way to the top and stuff like that, it means you are deep in it, so much so that you cannot be saved. Obsession with people becoming hustlers. Like, there's the hustle culture where a little inconvenience, kidogo, someone has gone and started their own business. People imagine that if they're not able to get employment, the best thing to do is to get into a hustle, like get into, you go buy your own bale of mtumba and then you start selling, you go buy cereals, buy mali and start doing it. The truth is, not everyone can be an entrepreneur, and you can be an entrepreneur even when employed. Actually, the best way to make the most out of your employment is to think like an entrepreneur. Think of your employer as a client, not as someone who controls you, as someone you're offering a service to. And with that, you'll be able to classify whatever it is that you bring to the table. What value are you creating to that client? So, because for someone to pay you, say in Tumba or whatever it is, even freelance writing or whatever it is that you do, for someone to pay you for that service, there has to be a value that you're creating. So while in employment, even if you're an accountant, you're a communications person, you have to figure out how to create value to your employer. Consider your employer your first client. So today's video is about how you can apply the laws of capitalism as an employee to make your employment journey worthwhile for you. So for you as an employee, the first thing you need to know is to act with speed. If you're employed, you shouldn't be that person who's constantly pondering things, thinking about what you want to do, taking all the days of your life trying to figure it out. Yeah. When you get into a new employment, space, and then you realize the space is toxic, there's no room for growth, there's nothing to ponder, move with speed, move to the next thing, or figure out how are you going to benefit from that situation. So one way of thinking like an entrepreneur while in employment is acting with speed. You notice that there's an opportunity. Maybe this is something that most people say in procurement or finance relate. Yeah, you realize there's something that you buy frequently from a given supplier. Instead of just staying there to ponder and figure out how you want to open your, your tendering business and all that, be quick, register a company, find a way of supplying that to your employer. So basically, it's about creating value and acting with speed, because if you don't do it, there's someone else who's already thinking about how to do it and probably putting in plans in place. And that is what differentiates people win from people who keep thinking and brainstorming for long. They take a lot of time. Like the space between thinking and implementing is really big. And that is something that can cost you. That is something that keeps you at unemployment for over 30 years. When there's nothing you're doing, you're still thinking, you're still writing your business plans, you're still trying to do proposals, you're still trying to please your boss. So when you get into a space, an employment space, think fast, decide what can I do in this space to make value, to create value, and to also, value from this space. Another thing you can do as an employee to leverage on your employment is to actually find other people who do things better than you, yeah? And that is something most people do not understand. Most people treat our workplace like a competition. If you're in a given field, let's say, like myself, I'm in finance, but then I've figured out that there's someone else, say, in communications or marketing, who does something better than I do. Instead of trying to compete with them, I'll try to find a way of merging our skills and creating value for both of us. So you learn how to leverage on your network, the people you already know, instead of trying to, compete with them, trying to show how much you're better than them or how much, they're trying too hard and all that. Try and get, make the most out of that network. Get them to teach you the skill. Get them, let them be something that make you better, not trying to compete all the time. To differentiate yourself from others is to invest in your privileges. If you're privileged in one way, say you've gone to school, even the most mundane things, you're a pretty lady, yeah? That is a privilege that you have. Do not be shamed into not acknowledging your privilege. Invest in it. If it's school, go back to school. If it's a skill that you have, keep honing that skill. Instead of just being there and being a conveyor belt that moves things from one place to another, find out better ways of, improving on that skill. and how to make that skill more marketable. Other than that, you need to look at what are the trends, what is changing in the market. Like right now, we have the artificial intelligence thing going on. So if you're an employee, you need to find out, how can I use artificial intelligence in my specific skill? Remember, we said you have to identify what value you're actually creating. You're not a conveyor belt. You're not there to just wake up in the morning and do this. And you need to be sure, how am I creating value? How am I enabling this company to move from, say their focus is revenue. How am I enabling this company to increase their revenue? And then find ways of improving on the skill that you're already bringing in. So you need to invest in your privileges or whatever it is that you already know. You need to learn how to sell your specific skills, not selling the company, but selling your specific skills, the things that make you different from everyone else. Learn how to sell. Most people shy away from selling, I think because of the beliefs that were ingrained in us, especially, I think earlier on when we were just done with school, most of us ran away from insurance sales. But right now I've learned that selling is one of the skills that can make you, get rich quick. It's one of those skills that when you have, you can never go hungry. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you know how to sell, you're going to make the most of it. It might not make sense right now, but eventually, once you're in a given field and you have a skill and you're trying to figure out how to get clients, you're going to wish you learned how to sell. Another thing is visibility. If you're an employee who thinks like an entrepreneur, you need to be visible. You can't just be in the back office doing whatever needs to be done and just being quiet with it. You need to ensure that whatever skills, whatever it is that you do, whatever tasks that you're doing, whatever projects that you're doing, they're visible, not only within your department, but outside of your department and even outside of that organization. Let people out there know exactly what you do. Let them know that you're capable of doing this, because you never know when an opportunity will knock. And when you just settle in the back office and no one knows, your unique selling points, your specific skills, your specific value, no one will, engage you. They'll just assume you're just one of those other guys. So if you're an employee who thinks like an entrepreneur, you need to be visible. You need to be seen within and outside. So now, how do you lose your power to capitalism? That is something most people have fallen for. Those are I'm talking about people who've held like the same role for over 10 years. People who've been in the same organization for so long, there's no change, there's no improvement, even in their living standards, but they still hold on to the same role, the same function. So one way of losing your power is when you stay in that state of waiting for so long. You're still there, you have hopes, but then you're doing nothing about them. You have dreams, you're not doing anything about them. You have ideas, you have these fantasies about maybe opening your own business, maybe growing, climbing the corporate ladder, but there's nothing you're doing about it. So that's how you get stuck. And maybe by the time you realize it, you already have obligations, and then you end up being in the same position for so many years. So that means if you're that person who is at that point, it means you've lost your power to capitalism. So you need to change. You need to change things, you need to make changes and find a way out of that route. A way of knowing you've lost your power, you're someone who is consistently complaining about your employer. If you do not want that employer, leave. Why are you not leaving? You're constantly complaining about the things you don't like, but then what are you doing about it? What are you doing to change that? Yeah, I personally avoid people who complain a lot, because if you're complaining, you better come up with solutions. I don't like even engaging in conversations that involve, why, what. I want you to figure out how. Yeah. If you do not like something about your employer, how are you, what are the plans? What do you intend to do to change that? So if you're still there and just complaining, talking to people, anyone who cares to listen, you're telling them about how your company is toxic, your organization is toxic, what are you doing about it? So that shows that you've lost your power. You're someone who is so deep into capitalism, you're being taken advantage of day and night, but you're doing nothing about it. Another way to know that you've lost your power to capitalism is that you enjoy free things. You enjoy the little lunches here and there. You're being given something that is so small, but then you feel like it's a big deal, and you appreciate it for that. The kind of people who would never even pay more to get a skill, the kind of people they're just contented with things as they are. You're being sent by your employer to go somewhere for a training. It's a training that you don't even need, but since it's you feel like it's a perk of being in that organization, you just go. So if you're scared of actually investing in yourself, the time you're using to go for a training that you don't really need is time you could have put into learning a skill that you actually need. So if you're someone who's scared of learning investing in yourself in things that you really need, you'd rather just do whatever it is, the bare minimum that the employer is giving you. And then another thing, we all know employment is based on capitalism. So one way or another, the employer is benefiting from you. So the more you just stay there and enjoy the little things that they give you, it's to their advantage. Yeah. So if you want to get out of it, you can reject some of this training if you feel you already have it, or you don't have to go to all the free lunches. You can just say no to it and use that time for something that develops you. I thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any follow-up questions about this, kindly reach out on my Instagram or TikTok. Also, you can email me on the link below.